In the meantime, the Trump administration has been leaning on Canada and Mexico to take a harder line on the illegal trade of fentanyl. And today we heard from the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, saying if his party forms the next government, it will amend the criminal code and make life sentences mandatory for so-called fentanyl kingpins, criminals who deal and trade large amounts of the illicit drug.
50,000 people had their Section 7 right to life violated by the open borders, soft on crime, legal drugs policy of the Liberals. I will protect the charter rights of Canadians and their right to life, liberty, and the security of the person by locking up the mass murderers that bring these drugs in.
Well, joining us now is Frank Baylis, a Liberal MP from 2015 to 2019. He is a Montreal businessman who is now running to be the next Liberal leader. Mr. Baylis, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
So of course, we booked this interview long before we knew that Pierre Poilievre was going to have this news conference today about fentanyl. But I do want to start there because I wonder, as one who wants to lead the Liberal Party and become the next Prime Minister, what do you make of his proposal for these mandatory life sentences for fentanyl dealers who traffic and deal in large amounts of the drug?
I think that Mr. Poilievre is great at sloganeering and great at saying things that get people excited. But let's talk about real solutions. So first of all, before we sentence anybody, we have to catch them. Is he talking about putting more police on the ground to help catch them, to help put discipline into the police, investigations, support that? Is he talking about helping the people that are really victims, that are caught in this cycle where they are drug addicts? And a lot of them, they come from an injury. What happens is that we don't have a good way of taking people off painkillers after they've been injured. And so what happens is they go to see their doctor, and then one day to the next they're told your medication's cut off, and then they search for solutions in illegal drugs and that. So I think we need a much more broad-based approach. Obviously, tough sentencing is a good thing to do, so long as it's part of an overall approach. That's how I would tackle that.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, Mr. Poilievre is talking about this right now because it's an issue that's been raised by Donald Trump, that he is concerned about the fentanyl that makes its way across the Canada-U.S. border. If you were to become the next Liberal leader, how would you be dealing with Donald Trump right now and the demands around the illegal drugs and the migrants that across the border that he says is a problem?
So until Donald Trump said it was a problem, no one in Canada knew it was a problem, and no one in the United States knew it was a problem. So Donald Trump, what he's doing here is he's gone and got himself elected by telling the American people he's going to solve illegal immigration. They all know that's a problem from the southern border, not the northern border. But he can't go around promising he'll build another wall because he's already made that promise. So he's trying to make something that he can fix, which is he's attacking Canada, knowing full well that we are not the source of the big problems that they have with illegal immigration, nor drugs. I think the statistics are under 50 kilos have been seized in the last year. So let's be honest, that's not the problem. It's less than 1%. This is just Donald Trump being Donald Trump.
So what does that mean then? Because this is Donald Trump being Donald Trump might be a conclusion that you make, but ultimately this is also about trade. More than 70%, 75% of our trade is with the United States, and he's threatening these punitive tariffs. What would you do to address that threat then?
What I would have done is this. I would have gone down and seen President Sheinbaum in Mexico. He's made a very large threat that he would impose 25% on both Canada and Mexico simultaneously. That would create havoc. It would create tremendous problems for our economy here in Canada, also in Mexico, but also in the United States. I would imagine with that, maybe within 6 to 8 weeks, there'd be a collapse of the stock markets in the States. There'd be inflation in all three countries. There'd be massive layoffs. And we have to say to ourselves, we cannot live under this threat constantly. So I would have called his bluff, quite frankly. I would have said, if the Mexicans were with us, I would have said, look, let's do it. Let's feel this pain. You're going to feel as much pain as we are. And you've got yourself elected promising Americans to make your economy better. I don't think they're going to like to see their stock market collapse. I don't think they're going to like to see the massive inflation that's going to hit. I don't think they're going to like losing all the jobs that's going to happen to them. So I think we have to put our, how do I say, draw a line in the sand and stop letting Donald Trump push us around.
Now, you, of course, are a businessman, a very successful businessman. You make that as one of your selling points as you try to win the liberal leadership. And let's switch over there right now, because Donald Trump takes a lot of oxygen out of the room. but your party has 5 weeks before it elects a new leader. You're running for it. Right now, we see a lot of ministers, many ministers supporting Mark Carney, a few supporting Chrysler Freeland. None have publicly declared for you at this point. Does that worry you?
Not at all. I think, let's be honest, I'm an outsider. I'm not someone that's coming from the Ottawa bubble. I'm someone coming from what I'd call, I don't want to call it the real world, but where average Canadians live and that. So they're not going to look at me from the Ottawa perspective as a serious candidate. That's their perspective of it. But when I'm out in the field, when I'm out talking to Canadians, I get so much energy and so much encouragement. And I think people are looking for what I call a real voice, a change in that. And I'm going to be announcing some changes that maybe not all politicians are going to like. I'm going to have a press announcement tomorrow about that. And I want to fundamentally change the system. I want to get back to working for Canadians, not working for politicians. So I have some ideas there that may or may not make me popular with all the political class.
Okay, well, we'll be covering that announcement tomorrow, but I do have to ask, because you talk about fiscal responsibility, being a man from the business world. We now have a government that has invested a lot of money into national child care, dental care, pharmacare, running up a massive deficit. Under your leadership, would those programs be at jeopardy?
What I would try to do is pay for them. So it's very easy to announce something. I can announce this, I can announce that. We already have a huge problem in our healthcare system. We all know it's not working the way it needs to and what Canadians want how we need it to work. So we need to address that issue. I need to address healthcare, then we can address pharmacare, then we can address all these other programs, which I think are wonderful. But announcing them and not paying for them is not going to get it done. So we have to do what I call wealth creation. Prosperity. We need to get Canada more prosperous, and I have very good ideas of how to do that. And if we get more money coming in, more money in people's pockets, if we get our Canadian dollar higher, that means prices go down, then we can look to pay for all these announcements. So I'm much more than just getting in the news for one cycle saying, hey, I've announced something new. My question is, okay, how do we make this happen? So I'm committed to making that happen, but it won't be easy.
It won't be easy, you say. So what does that mean? Cuts to the current program, user fees? How are you looking to find the funding to ensure these programs continue?
We need to grow. And there's a great way we can grow, which you've heard it a lot of times, is called productivity. So can we be more productive? And if we can do that, then we can find the ways to pay for these things without doing cuts. So I'm going to be focusing on that. That's where my skill set is. I am a businessman.
But how would you do that? In what time frame, though? Because it's not as if productivity growth will happen even in a year, let alone 2, 3, 4 years.
I disagree. I think that the first place I would start is the federal government itself. I think we could do a lot better job helping and being more efficient, so that lets people and businesses be more efficient in their life. So let's say, for example, I give businesses back 3% of their time that they waste dealing with the federal government. Well, that 3% goes right to they're going to still be working, and they can create more of the things that they create. So I think that we can have a pretty fast impact, and we can lead the way, showing that not only can your government be effective, your legislature, and then, you know what, we can support you in making your businesses more effective and our people. And as they become more effective, more productive, we all win.
Okay, so less regulations, smaller civil service?
I don't think less regulations. I call it intelligent regulations. And that means we're going to go through all the regulations, clean out the ones that are outdated, and the ones that are there that are necessary, let's make them work for Canadians, but make it easier. There's a million things to be done, and I'm excited about the opportunity to do them, to be honest.
Okay, well, major policy announcement, as you say, tomorrow, so we'll be keeping an eye. Very quickly, though, I have to ask you, if you do not win the Liberal leadership, will you be running as an MP? Well,
what I tell people is I've been a member of the Liberal Party for 48 years. 4 of those 48 years was an MP, but I'm always contributing to the Liberal Party. If I don't win, and I do plan on winning, but if I don't win, I don't know what the new leader will want me to do or not do. So I'm always going to be there to support the Liberal Party, and I will be there to support whoever wins. I think they're all very strong candidates that are in the race, but I'll listen to them and hear what they ask me to do.
Okay. Frank Baylis, thank you for the time. Hopefully we'll speak again before the leadership vote.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.